Thank you all for choosing to tune in to Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Billy Gada, and this is episode 2, season 2. And today we shall be measuring on how to escape the cynicism trap. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that we have a great enlightenment session with you. And welcome to Game Changers. This is the Game Changers podcast. First of all, before I even continue, I'd like to thank you for your participation and the response that you gave us during the inaugural episode of the season 2. We thank you for taking your time to listen. And even if you might have not listened to the episode, I'd kindly like to recommend this episode to you. Though there may be a few kinks in the recording of the episode, but we are working on it and soon things will be alright. So, thank you for tuning into Game Changers podcast. Let's start off our podcast. So, today, this episode of season 2, the second episode to be exact, we shall be focusing on cynicism and how to escape its trap. So today we shall be covering about optimism. And so we are living through a global plague, one that revealed our worst instincts and at the worst time. We are so divided that public health has now become a power struggle. Now, this is a for fact. We pioneered a vaccine, which was a moon landing innovation, and then it was kept among wealthy countries, while the poor ones suffered. People have now replaced optimism with cynicism, and the notion that humanity is greedy, selfish, and dishonest. Well, according to reports and several facts, in 1972, 47% of Europeans thought that most people could be trusted, and by 2018, that figure dropped to 30%. This is clear that we are living through a cynicism epidemic, right? And these studies also show that helping other people through their stress calms our own too. If you have a stress, you have something bugging you. But helping someone get through their issues even clears the way for your own too. See, so one may think that this is not right, you see, or it's not. So the punchline is clear that there is good in us and it does good for us, you see. So it may appear into someone's head that cynicism is kind of like a system upgrade in quotes. And that is to show who we are. Well, it is not. It traps us in a version of a world we don't have to live in, and one we don't want to. We don't have to live in this kind of world that cynicism is embraced, and we also do not want to. You see, so a study conducted in south and eastern Brazil. So there were at least fishing villages that was separated by just 36 kilometers of a strip. And so once it's by an ocean, where fishing requires large boats and heavy equipment like so, to make a living there, fishermen must work together. The other fishing village sits by a lake, where fishermen strike out in their own small boats and compete with one another. find the difference right there. So, the years ago, researchers tested how people in each of these villages responded to a set of social experiments. The ocean fishermen trusted strangers and cooperated with their neighbors, while the lake fishermen competed and mistrusted each other instead. But here's the crazy part. These folks did not start out any different from each other. The longer the fishermen worked on the lake, the more they competed with each other. These are the lake fishermen, and the longer they stayed on the lake, the more competitive they became. But the longer the fishermen who worked in the ocean, the less they did compete with each other, you see, because it was all about partnership and working together for these ocean fishermen, aside from these lake fishermen who always thought of competition in everything they find doing, you see. And so some families, schools and companies are like ocean villages, because people in these establishments trust other people. They trust others because they know they will earn it. You see, they give up their trust because whoever they trust knows that they are highly likely to replicate that trust to them. You see? And also some are like villages. These people look out for themselves because they know no one else will. And so we are living in a lake town of historic proportions. Inequality has soared and justice is all around us. Self-interest might also be pumped into water supply. Well, that is clear in some countries though. People would rather much put others into turmoil just for the search of water, while they are highly interested in them themselves. They won't care about anything or anyone. So this is how self-interest infiltrates the water supply too. So these forces reign cynicism, and so do times of disaster. George Bernard Shaw of England, who is a social psychologist, tells us that the power of accurate observation is commonly called cynicism by those who haven't gotten it. You see, he speaks about how to accurately observe things is referred to as cynicism by people who claim to have not even experienced it yet. Fast forward a century years later, or more precisely 107 years later, the cartoonist philosopher Lisa Simpson, I'm aware that to you, a listener who may be watching this, you are far much aware of Lisa Simpson. So this cartoonist philosopher taught us that as intelligence goes up, your happiness goes down. It works on an inverse proportionality. One goes up, the other comes down. And so you're intelligent. The more you become intelligent, the less happier you get, because you now know far too much. So maybe hope does too. Maybe cynicism is the price of being right. Most people think that cynics are smarter than uncynics. Get that right. Most people think that cynics are smarter than uncynics. Well, let's go into numbers. 85% think that cynics make better lie detectors. And that's where people go wrong. And as it turns out, that non-cynics perform better at cognitive tests. These are tests that are conducted in terms of intelligence. And these cognitive tests are tests that are conducted to test your intelligence quotient, or far much more, or infamously known as IQ, and are even best for detective work. And non-cynics are good at this, and so they perform better at such tests. They earn more money and win often on negotiations, because these non-cynics are proven that they are easy to trust to people, and it is through this trait that they bear is that more things even come easily for them. These non-cynics enjoy more than the cynics themselves. You see? And funny thing is, these cynics, the cynics that we are speaking of, aren't even good at spotting bad guys. In another study, researchers conducted a mock job interview, asking half of the candidates to lie and half of them to tell the truth. Cynics and non-cynics watched the videos of this interview, and guess who lied? Cynics did way worse. More generally, they assumed lies were everywhere, and so they couldn't pick the real ones of a crowd. In context, what it means is that if these cynics were put in an environment where there were people who would actually tell the truth and tell the lie, they wouldn't tell the difference. They would even tend to mix up, and they would not even be clear on who's sincere or not. And so this proves that cynicism isn't as smart as you think, but it's still powerful, right? Because our stories about each other become self-fulfilling. Cynics are more likely to refuse into cooperations. They hurt others to avoid being hurt, because they fear of putting their trust in someone with the thought of it being broken, or their trust being broken. You see? So they hurt others to avoid them being hurt. You see? So they tend to spy on their colleagues and act selfishly in response. They suspect their friends and other people unsurprisingly. Well, generally they react badly, that is. And in other words, that is, by mistreating others, cynics create the exact same conditions they fear. Have you ever thought of someone who tries to create this entire blackmail situation? That, think of it as you've been in a blackmail situation. This person tries to blackmail you in as much as he gets. But have you ever gotten to the point it is, to ask yourself such a question? The blackmail that person X is trying to put on me, what if I replicated the same blackmail on him? Or what if I got in even more blackmail on him? Believe you me, that person X doesn't like the blackmail when it's kicked back to him. He enjoys it. He enjoys playing that blackmail on you. But if that blackmail ever gets back to him, it will be his worst case yet. He fears that blackmail, that he's projecting it on you. You see? So that's what it actually means. So they say here that it's said that they mistreat others, and this creates the exact same conditions they fear. Think of it as projecting their insecurities, right? And they tell a stories full of villains and end up living in it. And this was the part 1 of the episode. Stay tuned for more, and we'll be back after a short break. Welcome back to part 2 to Game Changer Podcast. The episode was how to escape the cynicism trap. So the part one was majorly based on how to spot this cynicism and what cynicism generally is. You see, so welcome back. And I left the story where how cynics, when creating this, when trying to mistreat you, they recreate these conditions that they also fear more. You see, so it's like they were projecting these insecurities in them. So they tell these stories that are full of villains, and they end up living in it. They become the villain themselves. So I call this cynicism a cynicism trap. And in this episode 2, as dubbed by the name, I also explore the ways of how to avoid this trap. You see, so in a related study, people asked how happiness works, and some thought that this was a zero-sum game, meaning that when someone's happiness goes up, another person's happiness goes down. Well, others thought of how when we generally add value into someone's life, it adds up to our own happiness, you see. But cynics acted on their own illusions. When given chances to help strangers, they are less likely to do so. They end up less happy as well. You know, happiness usually comes out when something good. You see, for context, it's commonly spoken around that money brings happiness, right? But put that aside. Have you ever thought of happiness as you doing something good for someone, and that something good makes you feel good? Think of it. Have you ever done something very nice for someone, very good for someone, that even left you amazed at yourself and feeling so fulfilled in performing that good task? You find out someone who needs help. You offer help where you could. And by you offering that help, you have given that person a big boost. And that leaves you with a fulfilled feeling, knowing that you performed something good somewhere. And that's also the good it does for you. And that good, leave alone the fulfilling part, the feeling fulfilled, that good comes back to you, you see. Exactly. So happiness is not a zero-sum game, you see. So these cynics ended up less happy as well, and by hoarding this well-being that they had, lost out on one of its own key ingredients, which includes other people. So one of the key ingredients about the well-being of a person is other people. You need other people so that you are well. You cannot tell me that you managed to live a life out on your own. You've not met someone. You've not even gotten the chance to socialize and speak to people, and you want to say that you are okay, you are just well. Tell me, how is it? So when we decide it's all about ourselves, we stop seeing the kindness in other people. You see, when we start thinking all about just us, it's just me, the world, me versus the world, we stop seeing the kindness in other people. Someone does something kind for you. You may fail to notice it. You may even fail to thank that person for the kindness, just because you thought that this act was just a gimmick for him, something that you thought that this was just a setup, or this is not guaranteed. This whole good act that person is putting up is not genuine, you see. And we fail to see that in people who are genuinely expressing their kindness to you, you see. And it now comes out that when we think that the world is zero-sum, and that is, there's no change. Something must go up, something must go out. Something must come in, something must come out. You see? So everyone and anyone becomes a potential enemy and this applies to cynics. So imagine you stand out just to see enemies all around you, potential enemies. Even when someone has something good to help you out, you are in a situation, someone wants to help you out, but simply because you may not think that this person is genuinely here for your good, you now start thinking of him as an enemy, even in itself. You see, and these views spread across our stream. Parents pass this suspicion towards the kids, teachers to the students, employers to the employees, and politicians also acting in bad faith, damaging their voters' faith in them. Media companies trade in judgment and outrage. You get that? You find that employers fail to trust their employees. Teachers don't get the sense in their work in the students, and so they don't value them as much, and they start seeing them as unworthy, even though they're really trying as much. And even the voters, seeing that the politicians who are out there just for show and just for the sake, and they vote and they damage the faith of this person who chose to vote for them, in good faith, that is. And all this just works under this one whole thing, cynicism. And to generalize mostly, before I even go on, sorry for not explaining what cynicism is, but this is generally just this idea that someone is selfish, greedy, and dishonest. Those three, selfish, greedy, and dishonest, those are the three major things that round up to cynicism. So, our cynicism is the product of the media, and it grows the industry, because these companies trade in judgment and outrage. And so no, cynicism doesn't help us see reality more clearly, but it does not change reality, poisoning our relationships with whoever we engage with, our lives, and our culture. Clearly, it's not a system upgrade, right? But it's a mental malware. So, whoever would have thought that cynicism is a tool that helps you see the society more clearly, who to trust and who not to. No, that's not the way to go. And even more, it damages your trust in other people. It now creates this lonelier space in you. The lonelier space in you that you do not need any human for help. You do not need anyone for help. But as well, we do not have to accept it. This cynicism can be tamed. And how are we to escape this trap, right? You can take control of your story and help escape the cynicism trap. Well, we have to, that is. Take control of your story. See the situation in your life. Be willing and easy to trust in people. Find help where it comes. Use the help. If someone offers you help, don't be shy. Accept the help. Give that person a chance. You see, cynicism is all about mistrust. And so, just give a person a chance. You see, that's where you help build your own. Because the more you trust in people, not that I'm also not driving into careless trusting, no. You trust, but with caution. So, you take control of your story, see your life. You have to escape this cynicism trap. And funny thing, you might think that empathy is a weakness that might make you lose every argument, and you'd be wrong. It is important to notice one's kindness, even when the media doesn't, right? And envision systems built on that kindness. Together, we can use our collective optimism to create pockets of solidarity and mutual aid. just think of it as we all need each other, right? We all need each other. No one can live on his own. That's why, hence the proverb, no man is an island. You are not born alone. You are born with people surrounding you. Then it does not make sense if you start shunning out these people, thinking that you are in a battle of 1 versus 1. You will not make it, to be honest. And so, we need to imitate these ocean villages. You see, how to easily get help from people, trust them, so that we can all achieve our collective goals and responsibilities. And so, when these pockets of solidarity and mutual aid are created, then these miniature ocean villages can grow over time. And that's how the society can now reshape itself and recorrect itself away from the entire cynicism idea. Thank you for listening. This has been Game Changers Podcast. You can follow our podcast on Spotify, Anchor FM, Deezer, Google Podcast. And I was also up thinking about joining into AudioMark. We are finalizing that process to the management. We'll get back to you with the AudioMark link. You can also email us your comments. Your comments through tgcpsociety@gmail.com. That's the official email address of the channel. tgcpsociety@gmail.com, all lowercase. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Bilukada. Have a good day.